The hardest job I ever did and why it was worth it. It's the job that Warren Buffett has done, Tony Robbins, Mark Cuban, Grant Cardone, and a bunch of other successful entrepreneurs. And that job is door-to-door sales. So real quickly, how I got into it is my brother actually started doing it 4 years ago now. And we live in Montreal. So he went from Montreal to the other side of Canada to Edmonton to do it. It was like, I'm just going to go for a summer and sell door to door. Okay. And I was actually kind of glad, right? Because if you're like me, if you have an older brother, growing up, there can always be a little bit of competition, which is very healthy, which is very normal. But it can also be a little bit overprotective at times. So I was glad when that first summer he left because it was for the first time I had the full house to myself. I was the man of the house. I had the full summer where I had basically no one to answer to. I could actually do what I wanted. I had just turned like 19 at the time. So it was really, it was really all about more me exploring myself. So he went that first summer, came back. He was a completely changed man. I was like, yo, what happened? He came back, he tried to get me to go with him on the second summer. I said no because I kind of wanted more of what I had experienced the summer before. I wanted to experience that more. But then, so the second summer he went to Kelowna, which is again, even further down west of Canada. He went there in British Columbia and then he got back. But what I realized is that summer I actually missed him. And I was like, okay, you know what? I have my time apart from him. Now I want to actually build something with him. Right? Because he's my brother. So he came back and actually like the second day that he got back, I said, I want to come with you next summer. Obviously he was super psyched and all that, but it wasn't as simple as I actually just presented it because at the time I was 21, I had just turned 21 and I wasn't in the best place in my life. I had recently broken up with my girlfriend at the time who I was with for like 5-6 years. I was recently heartbroken, self-esteem wasn't the best, my confidence wasn't the best. The only thing I was doing right was working out. Apart from that, I was basically just living my day-to-day, had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. So I was just, surviving, basically. In coming videos, I'll, go a bit more into detail of my actual mental health at the time, but it was around February 2023. No, February 2024, where I got some devastating news. I was very heartbroken and I just couldn't find myself. And I could not wait to get out of Montreal. And I think it is very important of every young person, but especially every young man, to leave their hometown for at least 3 to 4 months. And I'll tell you why in this video. We'll go a little bit more into detail. But for now, all you need to know is that, I wasn't in the right mental space. My confidence wasn't there. My self-esteem wasn't there. Like I said, the only thing that was going right in my life was the gym. So I convinced my best friend at the time to come with me. Not at the time, he's still a close friend. But I convinced him to come with me and we were going to go to Kelowna again. So from Montreal to Kelowna. If you're not familiar with geography of Canada, that's like literally across the country. Canada's a big country. We're on the east, we went all the way to the west. Kelowna is one of the most beautiful places, and if not the most beautiful in all of Canada. It's like a small city, roughly 200,000 population, and it's just rich white dudes. It's the place that white dudes go to retire, golf courses, boats, beach, just the fun stuff. Basically everything that we don't have here in Montreal. So when I convinced them to come with me, we were both like super psyched. You know what? We're gonna go this adventure. We're gonna move out of our parents' home for the first time in our lives. We're gonna be living alone, cooking for ourselves. Basically, like we're responsible for ourselves and no one else. And hopefully we might make some good money while we're at it. So we went to Kelowna, and I do also want to mention that I've always been kind of introverted, not like extremely introverted, but I wouldn't say I'm extroverted, I don't really enjoy socializing. I'm good at it. Obviously this job made me better at it, but it's not like my favorite thing to do. I'm not that person at parties who just goes, introduces himself to people, meets everyone. I'm not like the life of the party. Unless, I'm with my friends, then it's a different story. But when I'm more like cautious. I like to watch more, see more. I notice more stuff. I'm aware, conscious of my actions, of how I talk, how I behave, and all of that. I think a lot before I do. And I guess growing up, I mean, sometimes that played in my favor, sometimes that didn't. That's not the point of this story though. I just want to mention that I was kind of introverted. I wasn't the best at meeting people, speaking to new people especially like complete strangers, you know. Plus, my entire life I grew up around Armenians, so I didn't really get out of my circle until like college, which then like after a semester COVID hit and I just went back to my same friends, my same girlfriend at the time, and just sedentary lifestyle, right? But I had made the decision that I'm going to move across the country. I really wanted to get out of Montreal. I was not in the right headspace. Like my mental health wasn't there. I was just down, okay? I was not feeling well. So I went. And I worked my ass off. It is by far the hardest job I've ever done. It was like all day. It was 6 days a week, 12 hours a day of just knocking doors, talking to strangers, and trying to sell them a product, right? It sounds hard. That's because it is hard. But the reason why it was worth it, I'm not going to go super into detail of like the job and everything, but I'm going to mention a few things that I think are very important to understand where I'm coming from. So, the first thing that door to door taught me and why it was absolutely worth it, why I'm saying it's the hardest job I've ever done, and why it's worth it, and why honestly I think every young person, but especially every young man, should do it. Point one is moving out of your hometown. I mean, door to door in general is amazing, but especially if you can do it out of your hometown, just the fact that you're moving out of your parents' home, you're leaving your friends behind for a certain amount of time, I'm not saying forever, you just really learn who you are, what your values are, what really matters to you and what doesn't. So that's the first thing that door to door taught me, is how to take care of myself. I found out what my priorities actually are, and how I went after them. But apart from that, obviously being that it was so hard, it's like you're on your feet 10 to 12 hours a day talking to strangers, and it's rejection after rejection after rejection. Hey, this, no. Hey, get out of here. Hey, no, I'm good. I'm not interested. Come back later. Give me a card. And everything else you can think of. And what it really did, at first it broke me. Okay, at first it was like, holy shit, But then I thought to myself, there are people who actually succeed at this job. So that means that it is possible. I just need to work harder, learn more, train more, and just become better. For me, it wasn't a sense of, oh, what if this doesn't work out? Then I guess I can just go back home. I was with my brother and all this bullshit. For me, it was like, no, this has to work out. Like, I am not going home until I figure this job out. I've always been someone like that if I start something, I finish it. And I do my absolute best at it. If not, I'm not going to do it. I don't like to do things half-assed. So when I decided that, okay, I'm going out for the summer, there was no sense of, okay, you know what, if it doesn't work out, then maybe in a month or two I'll come back and, go back to my life. No. It was, I'm going to stick to this no matter what. Even if I make $0 throughout the entire summer, I am going to finish this summer no matter how hard it is. And the first thing that taught me is the grind behind it. The grind behind what it actually takes to be successful. The reason why I mentioned Warren Buffett, Tony Robbins, Mark Cuban, Grant Cardone isn't because they made their money off door to door. They absolutely didn't. But the fact that they have all done it, and many other successful entrepreneurs have done it and talk very highly about it, brings me to make a connection between the things that you learn in door to door and how they can help you in life. And that's the first thing that I said. It's the mentality. It's that grinder's mentality, that hard work. Like I'm not even kidding. I was talking, the average person in door-to-door talks to roughly 50 people a day. I was talking to 100. There were days where my manager would call me and be like, "Okay, we're picking everyone up, we're going home." And I literally told them, "No, you guys go. I'm gonna stay out another 2 more hours. I'm gonna keep knocking. I'm gonna keep working. I am not going home until I get at least one sale." And the thing that brought me to realize that there's a such thing as process-based success versus results-based success. And this is actually one of the best salesmen in our company. He taught me this when I worked with him one-on-one. And he was like, there are two ways of measuring success. There's results-based success and there's process-based success. But what's funny is results-based success, 90% of the time you will fall short, because it's very easy to picture and imagine this happily ever after thing. That it's like it's the difference between the journey and the destination, right? You've heard about that. The person who enjoys the journey, let's say like it's walking, right? You've heard the quote, the person who enjoys walking is gonna walk a lot further than the person who just wants to get to the destination. And this job actually made me realize that, because on my second week I had zero sales. I was talking to 100, 120 people a day. And what I realized is, like, I remember this bright as day. I came home, it was 9 p.m. The rest of the boys had gone home at 7. And one of the other rookies there who was with me, who I actually got pretty close with, but he asked me like, "Yo, how are you in a good mood? You just spent 12 hours walking the entire day, getting over 100 rejections, like just walking and knocking doors. How are you in a good mood?" Because I came home and I was like, "Yo, what's up, boys?" and this, that. And my answer was this, word for word. I said, "You know why? It's because I'm working like this when I can't even sell, when I'm not even a good salesman. Imagine how good I'll be at the job when I actually figure out the sales part of it as well. I've got the work ethic down, I just don't have the skills. Imagine once I get the skills, imagine how amazing that's going to be, right?" I've always been a big picture kind of guy, but this job really brought that out of me. It's the process-based success of every single day I'm tweaking things, I'm getting better. Even if my skill might not be sharpening in the beginning, my work ethic is sharpening, my mental is sharpening, of me pushing through no matter what. Because once you can figure that part out, then you throw the skill on top of that, and this goes to anything in life. Let's say you're posting content. Once you get the consistency part down, that's like the harder part. Then if you can just tweak the skill, learn the skill, and improve the quality of your content, that's it. There's nothing else to figure out, right? Like the hardest part with content, people say, is the consistency. The hardest part with door-to-door isn't necessarily the sales itself. It's more that physical and mental resilience it takes. And I was building that. So that's the second thing that this job taught me, is how to build mental resilience, how to keep it, and how important it can actually be. The third thing is discomfort. Okay, when I realized the reason why I wanted to get out of Montreal, the reason why I left my girl at the time, she never quite understood it. It was because I realized that the worst place for a young man to be. I'm saying young man, this applies to women as well, obviously, but I'm speaking to a man because I'm a man. And I realized that the most important thing for a young man to realize is that you have to get uncomfortable. Look for discomfort everywhere you can. The reason why I broke up with my girl is literally because I was so comfortable, I was very much in love and all that bullshit. But what I realized is that I need to get uncomfortable. This is too comfortable for me at 20 years old. So I had to change something. So I said, okay, you know what? We're taking the extreme step, and if I'm not going to get heartbroken on my own, I'm going to do it. Okay? Because I realized that heartbreak is very important. This is just a quick metaphor to kind of explain it to you, that I just realized discomfort is so important for a young man. So that's why I did it. I was like, I don't like talking to strangers. I don't really want to leave my hometown, but I know it'd do me good. I don't really like to meet new people, but I know it'd do me good. I don't really want to cook my own food, but I know it'd do me good. I don't want to do my own laundry, but I know it'd do me good. And a bunch of other things. So I said, this job is gonna make me leave my comfort zone in all of these areas. And that's exactly what it did. When I got back home after that first summer, I remember my friends were like, yo, what happened? Like, you're a completely different person. Wherever we go, you're talking to people, you're meeting people, you're making jokes, you're making small talk. Like, you didn't used to be like this. And honestly, I felt very proud in that moment because I realized that the reason why I left was right, that I made the right call, and it worked out. I started getting the fruits of my labor. Next thing that obviously what door to door taught me is it built back my confidence. When you're constantly getting rejected, you start to realize that us as humans, we tend to make a big deal. Like, oh, but what if he says no? What if I try to go talk to him and he's rude? What if I talk to this girl and she says no? What if I ask for a number, she says no? What if I go to this job interview and I don't get it? It's this fear of rejection that we all have, but it is super important to get rid of. And the way you do it is just like anything else, right? How do you get over a fear? You face it head on. So that's what I did. I had this fear of rejection, so I went and got as many rejections as possible. That's literally like my first week, my first 2 weeks on the doors was, my mission was like, let's see how many no's I can get and not break. And it worked out. Eventually, after like maybe 50 no's, I would get a yes. And I'd be like, holy shit, this thing's working. And then I'd repeat it. And by the end of the summer, I was selling 1 out of every 10 people, which is honestly very, like, you don't know door to door, but that's very above average numbers. So all that constant rejection, it made me realize that fear of rejection is just bullshit. It's something that we come up with in our head. So that just gave me all the confidence I needed. Now, honestly, the confidence I have, I attribute a lot of it to what I went through in door to door. Because now I can go up to anyone and introduce myself, and if shit goes wrong, then okay. Like, I didn't lose anything. And you're going to realize this, right? You've probably been through that overthinking stage of, oh, that girl's pretty, maybe I should go talk to her. And you get in your head and this, that. But then you realize, look, what's the worst that's going to happen? She's going to say no. Okay, she says no. Your life doesn't change a single bit. That's what door to door taught me. If I knock on this door and he says no, okay, I just move on to the next door. So it really is as simple as that. Next thing door to door taught me is inputs over outputs. This is very related to the process-based success versus results-based success. But basically what it means is just focus on the work. Focus on just your tasks and what you need to do. Because if you really just focus on that, then results are inevitable. Results are going to come. Alex Hormozi has this very famous quote. He says, work so hard that it would be unreasonable for you to not be successful. And that really resonates with me. Because if you just focus on the inputs, you just focus on the task at hand, what you're supposed to do, and you put your head down and you just go to work, the results are inevitable. You are gonna succeed. Andrew Tate says, like, I don't believe that if you try your best, you can fail. And I used to say like, okay, but what if I tried my best and I still failed? But I realized that if you actually try your best, like if you fully 150% try your absolute best, you cannot fail. Because you are going to realize what mistakes you're making and you're going to improve them, and you're going to put in the work to improve them. You're going to it's impossible to fail if you actually try your absolute best. And then the last thing, actually before last thing, door to door taught me is how to stay level-headed. Because especially in door to door, it's very easy when you sell the first 3 people you talk to get, oh, I'm the best salesman in the world, to feel like you're on top of the world. But this job will humble you quick when after those 3 yeses, you get 100 no's. But also the opposite way as well, that when you're just getting no's, you got to keep your mental and be like, you got to take your emotions out of it and just keep putting in the work, focus on the inputs, just focus on knocking the doors, and you are eventually going to get the result. You are going to get that yes. It's like behind one of the 100 doors. For me, again, in the beginning, I didn't know how to sell, right? So for me, the whole point was I'm going to keep on knocking doors until I find that one person that needs my product, that is actively looking for product, that was about to call. I sell pest control door to door. So I was looking for just that one person that is like that has an infestation that needs me. So if I could get 90 no's, I couldn't care less because I'm just looking for that one person. Obviously, as my skills refined, as I fine-tuned them and I got better, then I was able to do a lot more. Then I didn't need 90 no's. Then I only needed 5 or 6 or 10. But that's another thing that, door-to-door taught me is how to keep my head, how to take emotions out of it and just look at the numbers. Okay, this is what I'm doing right. This is what I'm doing wrong. Map it out. Focus on what I need to improve. And the last thing that door-to-door taught me is sales. Obviously, because it is sales at its purest. You're starting from a defensive position. You're knocking on somebody's door. You're making them you're interrupting them essentially. And it is your job to sell yourself so that they hear you out, sell your company, sell your product so that they believe that this product will solve their issue. And on top of it all, you have to get them to trust you. And you have to do this in 5 to 10 minutes. So there's so many different skills that go into it, so many different skill sets that go into it. So it really is sales at its absolute purest form. Reason why I said this and the entire reason why I wanted to make this video isn't to tell you to go door to door. Look, yes, I do believe that every young man should, like I said. But I honestly just want to share what door to door did for me, why it's the hardest job I ever did, and why it was absolutely worth it. So I told you what it is. I told you why it was the hardest job. Now I'm going to tell you why it's worth it, even though I did already. But the real reason why it's worth it is because it translates to absolutely everything in life. First thing, like I said, that grinder mentality, that mentality of hard work, of just believing in the process, putting your head down and just going to work and trusting that over time it will pay off. It really builds that grinder mentality. When you're knocking doors in the rain, and it's pouring and you're getting rejected and you're on foot. I was doing 30,000 steps a day. There were days that I did 40,000 steps when you're not even sure what you're gonna eat. You get home at 10 p.m. You still have to cook, clean, go to bed, and then wake up at 7 a.m. because I was still gonna go to the gym the next day. That wasn't a question. It was my days were fully 7 a.m. to midnight every single day, fully packed. Gym, eat, meetings, correlation meetings, working my ass off all day, coming home, cooking, eating, and whatnot. So that grinder mentality really set in. And I think that's why Warren Buffett, Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, Mark Cuban, and a lot of the others, I think that's why they made it successful. Not because, yes, of the sales skills that they learned from door to door, but it's also because of the mentality that they were able to develop. The second thing it builds, obviously, the second thing it translates to, it builds confidence. All those constant rejections build confidence of you just being, I don't give a fuck. You want to say no, say no. I couldn't fucking care less. It's not going to change who I am. It's not going to disrupt at all of how I see myself and the man I know myself to be. The third thing is it builds a routine. Like I said, I had my entire day and I had to have it planned out because if not, I wasn't able to get anything done. There were guys in my office who were not going to the gym and they would just wake up, roll out of bed half an hour before meeting, grab a quick bite, go work all day, and then come back, grab another quick bite, maybe order in. But I saw the difference between me and them. It showed in results, it showed in mindset, it showed in physique because I was working out and eating healthy while they weren't. It showed in mood, it showed in my mental health, and absolutely everything. And the last thing that door-to-door translates to is, like I said, it is sales at its purest. So it really translates to the selling yourself, not in the fucking prostitution sense of word. Don't get your mind there. But more in the sense of anything that you do in this life, you need to be selling yourself. Whether you want to make a new friend, whether you're talking to a girl, whether you're negotiating something, whether you're applying for a job, you have to learn how to sell yourself, how to get them to like you, how to get them to trust you. And I'm not saying in the manipulative sense of the word. but this is just actual like fact, right? The reason why, let's say, if I didn't know how to sell myself, then I wouldn't be able to make this video. Why? Because the reason why you're still watching me is because I know how to come across as someone you want to listen to. Just that simple fact is me selling myself to you. The biggest correlation, honestly, for a young man is, I would say, what it does to your relationship with girls. And that's from the beginning to the end. It teaches you a lot of things, in the sense that if you're on the doors and you seem desperate for a sale, you're never going to get that sale. It's the same thing with girls. The minute you get desperate, you're never going to get the girl. Why? Because she loses respect for you. We can go into detail into that in another video, but it's that sense. When you're on the door, if you seem desperate for a sale, the customer is going to be spooked a bit. Like, why the fuck does this guy want to sell this much? Suddenly you're dropping price more than half price, and the customer is going to be like, wait, what? This doesn't make sense. That selling yourself notion applies to absolutely everything. And that is the biggest thing that it has given me. I am always thinking, what's in it for them? What's in it for me? How can I get what I want while also giving them what they want? Whether that's my employer, whether that's my friends, connections, business partners, and anything else. Kind of what I had for you today. I just really wanted to get this message across. I just wanted to share that part of my life that I haven't shared before. What door-to-door did for me, why it was the hardest job I ever did, why it was worth it, why I did it again and I'm doing it again, and why I recommend every single young man to do it. Kind of what I had for you today. Hopefully you liked the video. Leave a comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Keep your chin up.